Avengers! Disassemble!
Tony, this is not a good time to be drunk.
That's my secret. I'm always drunk. Where the hose, where the hose, where the hose at?
Hey, what's up, mother Funkos? I'm going to be showing off my collection of Thor Ragnarok pops today. I have 10 of them. I wasn't planning on getting so many Thor pops because Thor isn't my favorite Marvel Universe hero. Well, he wasn't. After watching Thor Ragnarok, it quickly shot up to the top of my favorite Marvel movies. I just loved it. Yeah, it's not like the first two Thor movies, but that's a good thing because the first two Thor movies weren't that great. Actually, they were some of the worst. But I put Thor Ragnarok right up there with Guardians of the Galaxy and Captain America Civil War as one of my favorite Marvel movies. Since I'm going to be reviewing 10 pops, I'm not going to show you every single box, but I will start out by showing you the Hulk's box, just so you can check out the artwork. And what I did was pretty much get my favorite version of each character, so I don't have the common Thor or the common Loki, just because I think there is a better version of them, and I don't need to have every single one. Like, I'm not the kind of collector that needs to get every single variant, every single chase, to feel like I have a pretty complete set of characters for any given movie or comic book line. And here is the Hulk out of the box. And honestly, I think this is one of the coolest figures in this entire line, and maybe of this year. This guy is really awesome looking. Look at all these different colors. He looks just like the Hulk in the movie. I wish they would have gave him both of the weapons though that he came out with, and maybe had him in a stance where he's kind of like spreading his arms more, just like when he burst through the door. That would have been really cool, but this is still awesome. And when I first saw the glams of this, my first instinct was, why the heck didn't they make him 6 inches? Like, we need a 6-inch Hulk. He's a lot bigger than all the other characters, so the pop should be a lot bigger than all the other characters, but they decided to make him just a regular size pop. Or so I thought, because look how big he is compared to Tony Stark here, which is a regular size pop. I mean, he is a lot bigger in every way. Like, his arms are bigger, his legs are bigger, he's taller, his head's bigger. He definitely looks like a huge character compared to these other pops. And I really like that. And actually, I think I like that better than if it would have been 6 inches. Because, of course, the 6-inch pops are more expensive. The boxes are really big. They're harder to display. And I do like having all my series all together. Like, I want to have all my Thor Ragnarok pops displayed all together. And making this guy fit in a regular size box allows me to do that. And he's also a lot bigger. So I think Funko let the collectors have their cake and eat it too with this pop. I'm very happy with the way it turned out. And I really can't nitpick anything on it. I mean, the only thing is maybe those eyebrows look a little thick, but not really. I mean, this is just a great looking pop. The paint job is great. And it's got a ton of little details all around. And he is just awesome. And is definitely my favorite Hulk in my collection now. Valkyrie in the glam didn't look that detailed to me at first. It almost looked boring. But now that I have her, I really like this stance she's in. And how detailed that outfit is. I mean, look at all those tiny little silver buckles and buttons and things that are all sculpted in and painted really well. I mean, those are tiny little metallic paint applications that are done very, very well. I noticed that Funko on these really big properties does tend to step up their paint job game. And I really like how bright blue that cape looks, because most of her outfit is black, so that bright blue really stands out. It looks really good. Her face looks cute, of course. And I like the way that they decided to do these with decals. These little, I don't know what you would call those, kind of like silver tattoos on her face. And what I really like, and I think is an extra nice touch, is the fact that her skull is exposed right here because her hair is tied really tight. So you see her skull. They could have easily just painted that black, and I wouldn't even have noticed something like that. I would have thought, oh, look, her hair is done. You know, it's sculpted nice. It's painted black, just like in the movie. But the fact that they added that little line of her skull is a really nice touch. And it's painted pretty well. I mean, there's a little bit of fuzziness, but it's barely noticeable. Really, really a nice job with the Valkyrie pop as well. This long hair Thor is a Hot Topic exclusive, and they've had a lot of him for a while now. So he's fairly easy to find if you have a Hot Topic that's close to you. But I did notice that a lot of them had super sloppy beard paint jobs. A lot of that face paint was bleeding over to the beard. I must have gone through about 15 of these until I found one that was okay. I mean, I looked ridiculous looking through so many pop boxes, but you know, if I'm going to pay for something, I want it to be nice. And I do notice that there is a lot of glue sloppiness on this one. It's not too bad. I mean, when you expect it really close, it is pretty noticeable. And the hair color isn't exactly the same. Like, it's a little bit more like orange here and a little bit more yellow on this piece they glued on here and this piece they glued on here. And it's kind of lame, you know, especially, I mean, I could understand if this is the hair underneath, but the ponytail hair, you know, all of a sudden changes color here. It's nothing crazy. It's on the back, and from the front, it's not that noticeable. It's just more from the side that you notice that. And they were all kind of like that. But other than that, the sculpt is pretty cool. And, you know, I'm not a big fan of these pops holding heads because the dimensions are all off. But since this is like this like face mask, it's not so bad. Really cool looking cape. It's tattered on the bottom. Overall, a cool pop. And, you know, I wasn't originally going to get this one, but after watching the movie, I did want to have a long hair version of Thor because that scene was really cool. I'm going to try to keep this spoiler free. But yeah, it's odd that they decided to release this pop so early because I do feel like him holding Surtur's like face mask is a bit of a spoiler. But I guess not that bad. Yeah, overall, pretty cool. Korg in the movie was really a surprise to me because I did not expect him to talk the way he talked in the movie. And it was hilarious. Like, I avoid watching too many trailers. I did watch a couple, but I don't remember Korg really being in any of them or not speaking anyway. And he really was a fun character. And his pop turned out really awesome. Like, look at all those details in the rock and his armor. And I like that they painted his armor nice and glossy to really stand out from this kind of matte blue that the rest of the pop is in. It looks really good. And the different glossiness does make it look like they're different materials. It looks really good. And the gold is done fairly well. Usually those metallic paints can get a little sloppy. But yeah, look how good this guy looks. And he is also appropriately larger, just like the Hulk. Here he is by Iron Man, so you can see how much taller he is. And they did make his head not look as big compared to the body like most pops do. Even though the head is still big, but they did widen up the shoulders because the actual character design does seem to have like a small head for the body. So they did a good job with that. And I like the way this kind of is sculpted up in the back. Really an eye-catching pop in a series of a lot of eye-catching pops. Probably one of the coolest head sculpts I've seen in a while. Just look at how awesome these antlers, for the lack of a better term, look. They are just super awesome and draws your eye right away. And her body is pretty simple, but it's painted really nice with that metallic green. A lot of little lines that are painted perfectly. Really cool. I mean, the only thing I would change on this is maybe giving her some of those blades that she tends to shoot. And correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, but I think this isn't exactly movie accurate because, I mean, maybe there was a shot in the trailer where she had kind of like this black paint on her face, but in the movie it seems like it was on her hairline that this like helmet with the horns materialized, and this should have been flesh colored with part of this mask coming down around the eye like this. That said, I do think that black on the face with these light green eyes is more eye-catching. It looks better, but it's not exactly movie accurate. I did only see the movie once, so maybe there was a quick scene or something that I missed, but I don't know, I was paying attention the whole time. But yeah, I do think it looks really cool though. And I like when they sculpt the capes like this because usually the female characters need a stand to be able to stand on their own, but this cape holds her up, which is awesome. Really a cool pop, and honestly one of my favorite Marvel villains. She actually was pretty menacing, and Cate Blanchett looking sexy for however old she is. She's got to be in like her late 40s, I think. I'm not sure, but she looked great. The costume was great, and she did seem very menacing. Just an awesome character and awesome pop. Look how awesome this Marvel Collector Core exclusive version of Loki looks. Those horns are incredible. The common Loki is pretty much the same pop, but without his horned helmet, which I think is a little lame because when I think of Loki, I think about these horns and how cool of design that is. It's just classic and it's just awesome. So I much prefer this one. So I'm really glad I didn't get that common and just waited for this one. And my intuition was right that there was going to be a Loki and a Thor in the Marvel Collector Core. So I held off on getting those guys until the very end. And yeah, I really like this pop. Like, I really like how detailed, again, this guy's armor is. Just like all the other ones, it's very detailed and painted really well. The green, black, and gold look really great together. And like even this shoulder armor is detailed, fully painted. Look at all these tiny little buttons and lines they could have messed up, but they look really good. And all the helmet lines look pretty good. Not a lot of face paint bleeding over anywhere. Overall, this is just an excellent, really cool pop. In a movie full of superheroes, aliens, and just generally outrageously designed characters, Jeff Goldblum as Grandmaster still managed to steal the show. I think anybody that watched Thor Ragnarok and didn't get this guy might be kicking themselves because he was an NYCC exclusive. Although, I think that out of all the exclusives at Hot Topic, this guy was the most plentiful, so you still might be able to find him in store or pretty cheap online. But yeah, I can't imagine anybody watching Thor Ragnarok, collecting the pops, and not wanting Grandmaster. I really like the position they put his hands in. Makes it look like he's like kind of scheming and thinking and saying the ridiculous things that he says. And they gave him the blue nail polish on his hands and his toes. Really well done. Really like the details of the sandals on the toe. And his robe looks cool, and this piece is even kind of a softer plastic. Silver pants and gold, and all this metallic paint is done very well. It's not sloppy at all. And I'm usually not a fan of the way they do kind of like this color changing of the graying hair, but it's actually done very well on this one. It doesn't kind of like stand out in an eyesore kind of way. It actually looks pretty good, especially from head on. This really is a cool looking pop. And I like that they used, I want to say those are decals for the blue on the eyes and here on his chin. Kind of sucks that mine came in with a little nick on the eye, but I could easily just, dot that with a Sharpie and it'll look perfect. Really a great looking pop. The Surtur pop is the epitome of an eye-catching pop. I mean, just look at this guy. And he is really heavy. This was a GameStop exclusive, so I pre-ordered him because my GameStops are really hit or miss. But I knew that I really really wanted to have this pop in my collection because he is just really, really cool looking. And he's not just molded in this kind of translucent yellow plastic. He actually does gradiate. It's a little darker orange on the bottom, a little lighter on the top. That looks really nice. And his body is a little darker orange. The sword is a little lighter. And his skeleton is just painted on over the top. It would have been really cool if it was in the inside, but, you know, that would be kind of expensive. But I do wish that maybe the skeleton was painted in a little bit closer color to this face mask. But other than that, he looks really cool. He's really, really eye-catching. And just like the Korg, he is an eye-catching pop that stands out in a series of super eye-catching pops. That's hard to do. This guy looks really cool. And they also made him a lot bigger, appropriately so. Here he is compared to Tony again. So you can see how much larger he is, even though he is in a standard pop box. So, you know, there's 3 characters in this line that could have been 6-inch pops easily. I mean, this guy was huge. But by Funko making them a good inch taller than the other ones, it really is the best of both worlds. So you have more space because it's not such a big box. You're not spending as much money. And, you know, they're a lot bigger than your other pops. So if you display them out of the box, you can definitely see the size. I really hope that Funko does that more often. Yeah, really impressed by this Surtur pop. Heimdall wasn't in the movie that much, but he did have some really crucial and badass moments. So I'm really glad they gave him this sword in this stance. And I also think it's great that they gave him these bright yellow eyes, just like he has in the movies, because they could easily give him just the standard black pop eyes and it would still look cool. But by giving him those yellow eyes, it really does make him eye-catching. And I really like the way they conveyed the texture in that cape. Totally looks like it's knitted. Really like the flow of it. Done really, really nicely. And painted really well. I like the use of the glossy on these leather straps on his hand. And just these other little details. Really makes it look like different materials. The sculpt of the hair is really nice. It really does look like dreadlocks. This is a really cool looking pop that might be overshadowed by some of these other awesome pops in this collection, but once you see this guy in person, he is just as awesome as all the rest. And last but not least, this Gladiator version of Thor, which was a Marvel Collector Corps exclusive. This is the only character I repeated in this series, but I do think that the long-haired version of Thor with Surtur's mask does look a lot different than this one. But yeah, this guy looks really cool. Look at how colorful he is. Like the primary colors in the entire movie and in these pops really look great. And it's great sculpting all around. A lot of little details that are painted really well. But what really shines is this helmet. It just looks awesome. And this is just like, this can wipe off with like a Q-tip or something. It's like this factory oil or factory dust that does wipe off. But yeah, it looks really cool. The only thing I would nitpick about this guy is that I want to say that in the movie, this red face paint kind of comes down on both sides. Like it seems like this little line right here should be repeated twice on the bottom of the eye. It would look a lot cooler and I think more movie accurate, but that's it. Because otherwise, this guy looks pretty cool. And I'm also glad that I anticipated this being in the Marvel Collector Corps and that I didn't get the common because this is far superior in my opinion. Really just a cool looking pop. Alright Funkheads, so that's my collection of Thor Ragnarok pops. It's not a complete set, but it's my favorite version of each character. Now that they're all lined up, you can see how much taller Surtur, Korg, and the Hulk are, and appropriately so. But unfortunately, Thor is the shortest character. I definitely think that Thor should be taller than Valkyrie. Not sure why they made Thor so short. But that's the only nitpick I can really see, because I really love this series, and I really love the way they all look together. They're all super colorful, super accurate to the movie, and some of my favorite pop purchases of the year. It's very hard for me to pick a favorite. I really think that Gladiator Hulk looks great. I think Valkyrie looks really cool. The Grandmaster turned out really well. Surtur is super eye-catching. I really can't pick a favorite, honestly. I like them all, which is a first for me. Usually, I'm very easily able to pick a favorite and a least favorite, but I think that this whole series is extremely solid. Alright guys, let me know what you think about these pops in the comments below, what you thought about the movie, or anything else you'd like to say. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Take care of yourselves and have a good one.